Hello and welcome to the 2022 Best Research Award e-Assessments Award Finalist Showcase Series. As we lead up to the 21st of June, when we will announce the winners of the 2022 e-Assessments Awards, we'll be learning a bit more about the organisations and the projects that have been shortlisted. We'll also be hearing from the sponsor of the individual awards and from Paul Muir of the British Council, who are the awards headline sponsor. You can watch these broadcasts via the e-Assessment Association's social media channels, or you can listen via our podcast channel. Don't forget that if you'd like to attend the upcoming International e-Assessment Conference and Awards Dinner, you can do so by buying tickets at eassessment.com/conference, and hopefully I'll see some of you there. This year we have some fantastic keynote speakers lined up with an exciting programme of presentations and hands-on workshops. The conference and awards will take place in London on the 21st and 22nd of June, and like I said, I hope to see some of you there. First up in today's sessions, we welcome the sponsor of the Best Research Project Award, RM, to tell you a little bit more about why they were so interested in sponsoring the research project.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar to announce the finalists for the Best Research Award as part of the 2022 e-Assessment Association Awards. My name is Richard Little and I'm the Propositions Director for the Assessment business at RM. I'm also a board member of the e-Assessment Association. RM is very pleased to be able to sponsor the Best Research Award with the e-Assessment Association this year. The role of research in our industry is vital to validate new ideas and approaches to assessment, especially as we progress through the journey to digital assessment over time. Finding new ways to do things is great, but we need the research to build confidence that the new ideas will drive the outcomes we want to support our candidates and students in their learning journey. I also think research is a great way to stimulate collaboration across multiple organisations in our sector. At RM, we know from our own work that collaborating with others helps to bring a range of perspectives to the research that we do. Our research with Purdue University on the value of peer engagement was a great example of this. And recently, we've just completed a piece of research with the IAEA, which explores the views and attitudes on the adoption of digital assessment and how these may have been influenced by COVID-19. And we look forward to sharing more of that with you in the future. And for the e-Assessment Association itself, bringing together research findings from across the industry and supporting future research is a key activity for us. And so to this award. It's great to see such excellent examples of research being done in our industry, and I'd like to thank everyone who has submitted entries for the award this year. And I'd like to congratulate both Examity and Brightpath for their excellent submissions this year. I know the judging for these awards is rigorous, and so becoming a finalist is a major achievement in itself, so congratulations for that. Finally, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the judges for the Best Research Award. Judging these awards is both fascinating but incredibly challenging to conclude on the winner. So my thanks go to both Helen Claydon and Martha Gibson for their time and consideration in judging the award this year.
Thank you, and we're delighted to have RM as the award sponsor. Now we're going to play you some presentations from the two finalists from this category so you can learn a little bit more about the work they do. So sit back and enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Sandy Heltzinger and I head up the Brightpath assessments and reporting software. It's lovely to be able to present to you today the work that we've been doing in Australia. What I want to focus on is the formative assessment writing that we have in Brightpath. Now, this represents a whole new way of assessing, which we developed through the University of Western Australia. And Dr. Stephen Humphrey and I researched the methodology for well over 15 years before we realised that we were onto something really important and we needed to get it out to schools. We've been able to make great advances in supporting the assessment of maths and reading, for example, because those are aspects of learning that are well serviced through multiple choice questions. It's been much harder for us to find an innovative way of supporting teachers with assessing writing. and extended performances. The methodology that we've developed, we believe, meets all the challenges that come with rubrics, comparative marking and automated marking, and does it in a way that doesn't have the problems that those methods of assessment have. What you're seeing here is a view of the Brightpath assessment software, where in the middle we have our Brightpath scale. We do considerable work to calibrate this scale. Just to the left of the scale, you can see little thumbnails. Now those are work samples. Each work sample represents slightly more ability, and I'll show you this in a bit more detail in a moment. The sample on the far left is the one that is an exemplar that's opened up and the teacher's reading it. The one on the right is the student's work that she's assessing. Now, it's such a simple way of assessing. It seems very intuitive, but we worked really long and hard to get this working. Teachers assess their students by comparing their performances to the calibrated exemplars and deciding which one it's closest to. The important breakthrough that comes from this work is that we get reliable or consistent assessment, so that scores can be compared over time, and they can be compared from teachers, different teachers within a school and across schools. And that opens up so much that we can do in the reports to support teachers in assessing effectively. So this is a picture of where we're at in Australia. We're in every state and territory. We have the state contract in Western Australia and South Australia. We've seen really great growth in the use of Brightpath. So an increase, we launched in 2015, and from 2015 onwards, we've seen an increase of 250% in the number of schools using Brightpath. And really reassuringly, we've seen an increase of over 2,000% in the number of assessments being completed in the platform. So Brightpath is greatly valued. Why are we seeing so much use of Brightpath? Because Brightpath does lead to improved student learning. So we can see from our work with schools that they're telling us that their students' writing is improving. And we can see from large studies conducted independently that the data show that students in schools using Brightpath do better on our national tests than schools not using Brightpath. Now, very quickly, it's a process of the teachers collect their students' performances, they assess them, and then they use the data. In terms of collecting the performances, students write their performances or they type them in, and we have all the support materials for that. And then in terms of assessing the performances, they go through this comparison. So what I'm showing you here is each of our exemplars. Each exemplar is showing us slightly more ability. And this becomes one of the most important maps of writing ability. And it's these that the teachers are comparing their students against to decide where they sit on the scale. So it really is quite a different way of assessing. It speaks to teachers. So there's a lot of collaboration where they print out the performances and they talk about their students' performances. So it's software delivering an assessment methodology that teachers really love and value. We're able to provide very detailed information to tell teachers what they need to learn next. And more recently, we did add an automated marking feature where where students type online, the program analyzes the performance and gives it a sense of where the student lies. So what we've done is we're not impeding teacher ability, we're supporting teachers in making their judgments of their students' writing. So we then because we've solved this problem of getting reliable data from teachers' assessments, we have very detailed reports which allow teachers to work out what they need to teach their students next. They can share the reports with parents. They can easily collect whole school data. They can compare their school's performance to all other schools, and they can look at pre and post-test data and track student growth over time. So a lot of excitement in what we're doing. Importantly, the software is about education and about students, and teachers are finding a myriad of ways of sharing the information with their students so that their students become really confident writers. So a quick whistle-stop tour. It's been lovely talking with you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Woodcock, and I head up Examity's international strategy outside of North America. Some of you may know Examity already, and if you don't, we are market leaders in live and auto proctoring with 24/7 exam access and exam support. We applied for the EA Best Research Award a while back now, and this presentation really is to cover some of the key points of the research, how it came about, and some key outputs and things that we found that were useful. So if you go back to, let's say, pre-COVID, pre-March 2020, where online proctoring was already taking place, and then during COVID and what happened when organizations needed to change to online assessment, and even then post-COVID. And there were a few things that we had spotted. The first one is that there's more and more emphasis on the candidate experience, and especially for online. We also realized that there wasn't much research out there in the online proctoring sector. And we had some key stakeholders that were asking us, well, what are the main challenges that you can face in online proctoring? So the need was clearly evidenced by the candidate experience, stakeholders who were new to online, stakeholders, customers, partners who were new to online proctoring. And then the British Council specifically asked us to produce a report for them. The impact of this research, and the reason why it's unique, is because we looked at more than 2 million exams. So we had access to primary data. And imagine all those exams also have multiple data points. So this is a huge exercise in itself, even though we called it a small scale project because it only took 3 to 4 months to analyze and produce. We believe that it has a unique contribution to knowledge in the online proctoring sector and the online assessment sectors. And the aim and the hypothesis of the research was very straightforward. It was looking back at our data, and the data range was the 1st of January 2020 to the 31st of December 2020. What can we learn? What can we find as the most common test taker challenges? And what we found that there were actually 6 most common challenges. And you can read our report. It's freely accessible on our website. But you got things like connectivity and data protection issues, and viewing results, or maybe scheduling an exam. So these were some of the challenges. But we wanted this to be more than just research. We wanted to draw some conclusions and provide some recommendations for each finding. And you'll find that in the report as well. In terms of good practice, we managed to share this, again, for free on our website. So it's published and it's easy to access. And also we've worked with partners and clients to present our findings and to get their side of the story. Did they experience those issues and those test taker challenges? And what do they do to resolve those problems? Our methodology for the research is clearly explained throughout the report. And we hope that you'll enjoy reading it. It's fairly short, it's 10 pages. And so what we aim to do now is to do more research for the online proctoring sector, more research for the online assessment sector, and thought leadership beyond the test taker challenges. We're looking at maybe carbon footprint. We're looking at and the impact of carbon footprint, of assessment on carbon footprint. We're looking also at the regulator, how online assessment and online proctoring can meet the needs of regulators for qualifications and exams. So those are the things we'll be working on for next year. We know that this research has been useful for clients and partners to think about the challenges and how to address those challenges. It has also helped our organization think about how we manage data and how we look at data to make improvements for our systems and procedures and our solutions. So this has been a really good exercise. So thank you very much for inviting us to the EAA, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the 21st of June. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
There's some really great research projects out there, and I can't wait to see who the winner will be. Earlier in the week, I chatted with Paul Muir from the British Council, who are the headline sponsors for this year's awards. I spoke to Paul to get to his take on the finalists for the Best Research Project. Hi, Paul, and thanks to you and the British Council for sponsoring this year's e-Assessments Awards. I'm very excited and looking forward to the award dinner on the 21st of June.
Absolutely. No, it's great to be here, and it's great to be talking about the awards again. I know we've talked about a couple already, and I think those podcasts are really well received, so it's great to be back talking about the awards again.
No, it really is, and we've got 2 finalists this year for their Best Research Project. We've got Brightpath and Examity submitting nominations for the Best Research Project. What is it about the research project that British Council are looking forward to seeing through the finalists?
I think really it's about it's just really great to see lots of research going on. I think obviously we've got these 2 finalists here that we see, say Brightpath, looking at how they assess extended student performance. I think with technology, and I think people are also obsessed with the end of year exams and things like that. Actually, so to see an organisation looking into that research of how you can assess that student performance and how you can help teachers help learners is really, really important, I think. So it's great to see research going on in that area and pushing that type of approach.
No, I agree, and it's quite interesting seeing the applications in the classroom. So like you're so right, like not just focusing on that assessment exam hall, replicating that experience, but actually in the classroom, how we can use technology to support the formative and summative assessments of people. It's quite interesting actually reading their submission.
It wasn't, I think, how quickly, obviously, they've got, I think, I'm looking at some numbers here, they've got to 12,000 students at the end of this, and in 113 schools, really, it seems really quickly. So something's working well there, if that's the case of how well it's worked with Brightpath, certainly.
No, I agree. And I think what's really nice and what sung to me through the nomination was about the collaboration aspect as well, because I think that's so important when you have a solution and a supplier and a customer. Like just that harmonious relationship really is so important, isn't it, to successful delivery? I'm sure you have partners where it feels more, well, you definitely feel like you're part of the same family and you're not just a customer. And it's so important when you're dealing with high stakes examinations and assessments.
It does. Here at the British Council, we always try to be that trusted partner. We want to collaborate. We don't want to be sort of forced together and made to work together. We want to collaborate and be aiming towards the same goal. So it's great to see that, and they say to see here with sort of University of Western Australia and Brightpath what they've done there, and and at the end of the day, the research saying that students make greater progress. So it's great having the research, but actually also it showed that actually what they did made an impact. It actually made an impact for those students. So that's really all you can ask for, I think. No,
absolutely. And it was quite interesting seeing Examity's area of research being focused on the test taker, the end user, their experience of remote invigilation, because it's no secret the world has massively accelerated to remote invigilation online delivery as a result of COVID. And there's not a lot of research out there at the moment. And I thought it was really interesting to see research focusing on that end user, the person sitting their exam in the bedroom, in the living room, or wherever. I don't know what your thoughts are. Have you ever taken the online remotely assessed example?
I haven't. I'm embarrassed to say I haven't. It's quite embarrassing because I'm responsible for our remote proctoring strategy at the British Council, but I haven't taken a remote proctor test yet. So but I think you're right with Examity. I think the growth of remote proctoring in the pandemic was significant, and I think everyone has probably been focused on the last 2 years of just so much of just getting the job done and getting students done. So actually, someone like Examity, who obviously one of the leading remote proctoring companies out there, to take that data they've got of, I think, was it 2 million plus candidates, and actually look at that and try and understand the sort of, and this is about 6 impacts, I think, on students, the common challenges, and coming up with those was really interesting. Because again, I think they even admitted it potentially was self-defeating for them, because actually how it could come across, I think they had to sell this to their board, didn't they, in their paper, that actually they may be revealing things that don't really work. And it was interesting that you're basically you're washing your dirty clothes, aren't you, in public here? So
I think there's quite a lot to be learnt from that. I worked on an accelerated project to introduce remote invigilation. You're working across. It's quite astounding, the achievements and the hard work that goes into these online platform deliveries to be able to overcome those variables, such as computer aid, user experience, memory on a computer. And I must admit, I've taken a few online exams. I did one for qualification last year, and I didn't read any of the student guidance. I was a very bad student because in my previous role I had written the guidance, and I thought, oh, do you know what, I know this. So I think we're our own worst enemies, aren't we, sometimes? And I know that people supporting people taking online exams, the amount of work that goes into the guidance to support people through that, make sure the end user has the best experience possible, and then knowing that people might not read the guidance, it's so, well, it's human nature, isn't it? So soul destroying. But I was a bad person. I didn't uphold my own standards. But
and I think that's the thing. I think when you say some of those challenges that I think we know from our experience as well, some of the challenges that people face are technical or are quite simple if they've read the instructions. And we know, and I think as you said there, you've written them, and you know probably deep down that probably half of the people won't read them, and or won't read them properly. And so you sort of think, well, we're trying to help you, but you haven't done it. So it's interesting that Examity have done that. And I think one of their challenges that they talked about was trying to make it agnostic. So yes, it was about remote proctoring, and obviously Examity had done it, but it wasn't meant to be about Examity. It was meant to be about the sector as a whole and the process as a whole. And I think they've done quite well in getting that across. So no, it'll be interesting to see, did they follow that up? Do we see from some of the other big players in the market, does their own research come out now? Is this something that maybe, I know we're involved in the E-Assessment Association, obviously here today. Is it something that maybe, as an association, we want to maybe take forwards in the future? And I know we do have at the conference a paper being presented on some research we've done on e-assessment and on remote proctoring. So it'll be interesting to see if these two things align potentially going forward. So excited to hear what more about it at the awards and what comes next.
Yeah, I look forward to that session at the conference, actually, because remote invigilation is very close to my heart due to previous involvement, and really excited to see what the research pulls out. And you're right, maybe working together we could do some shared standards or shared learning research. Is tip of the iceberg really. Now you say people have introduced it because of COVID, and now where does it go? That's the exciting part. Like, what's the research going to tell us?
Well, again, thanks for talking to me today about this. It's been good, and look forward to seeing and hearing more about it on the 21st.
Thanks, Paul. That's it from me today. I'll be back later for the Best International Implementation Project Award. Thank you all to the judges for this award, and well done to all the finalists for making it this far. Good luck to them all, and I'll see you soon.